watching CramerSez.
Welcome. My name is Kramer. This is the CramerSez Project, and boy, have we been waiting to get to this point. And what I mean by that is that we wanted to get to the point where the video was syncing up with the audio. It finally is. We're so glad to be here. That is actually the focus of the conversation I wanted to have tonight is, how did we get here? How did we get to this point in time where the government is shut down, people aren't getting paid, there's threats of people going hungry, there's threats of riot, there's threats of looting. How did we get here? If you've been listening to me here lately, I've been telling you that I believe in systems. Systems are designed to produce a certain outcome, a specific outcome. If you build a system that is known as a toaster, it produces toasted whatever you put in it. That's what it produces. If it's a car factory, that system, it produces cars. If you've got an electric company and you've got generators and you're burning coal and yada, 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 and you're generating electricity, that system creates power. That's what it does. It doesn't produce anything else. It cannot produce anything else. So when you look at what this system has produced, where we are, financially, economically, and so on, you have to wonder, how did we get here? If our politicians are doing what's best for us, working in our best interest, how did we get here? Now, we don't generally do lives on a Sunday night, but I wanted to do one tonight. Number one, we're testing out the new system, making sure that everything finally works. But I also wanted to start making you think along a different line. If they're doing what they say they're doing, if they're working in our best interest, if they're doing what's best for us, how are we getting poorer? How are they getting richer? How did we become the enemy? We'll talk about that and more right after this.
You're watching the CramerSez Project.
Global news with local views.
CramerSez returns after this message from our partners.
Last week in our We Told You So series,
We warned GM investors that CEO Mary Barra was bad for business.
we were right.
Barra's love affair with EVs just cost stockholders $1.6 billion as GM takes a massive loss after Biden subsidies come to an end. Then, Paul Chesser reported Bank of America had no problem debanking conservatives.
This is an issue that NLPC's been investigating since the story broke.
But refused to expose Jeffrey Epstein's financial activities.
During the January 6th uprising, Bank of America scrubbed through its data and turned over credit card information without being asked, without being subpoenaed, without having a warrant given to them by federal law enforcement. At the same time, they were doing business with Jeffrey Epstein without question. And then after Epstein died, they suddenly realized, we need to report this activity. And they filed 2 suspicious activity reports, as they should have done when Epstein was still alive and still banking. But they didn't do so. They were basically covering up the business that Epstein was conducting.
But wait, there's more.
NLPC Chairman Peter Flaherty is calling for the indictment of John Brennan, the ex-CIA director who pushed the Russia collusion hoax, relied on the discredited Steele dossier, and lied to Congress.
According to the House Judiciary Committee, John Brennan committed crimes. We believe there's even more to the story, and we're going to stay on top of it.
That was last week. What's NLPC working on next? Find out by subscribing to the NLPC on this platform.
Or by visiting us at nlpc.org.
To learn more about the CramerSez Project, our mission, and how you can become a part of it, please visit thecramersezproject.com.
You're watching CramerSez.
So tonight's subject, it's really easy. It's how did we get here? If our politicians are doing what's best for us, if they're working for what's in our best interest, how did we get here? The Democrats right now are blaming Republicans. I mean, what else they got, right? They lost the election. They're losing numbers. Their funding is way down. They don't have anything else other than to shut down the government. That's the only leverage they have. And then they turn around and they gaslight the American people. They again do what has not worked. We're tired of it. Chuck, Nancy, the rest of you, we're tired of it. We see through your games. We know what you're doing. We understand fully the American people are not buying your shit anymore. It's time to put your big boy pants on. If you can identify which one of you is the big boy. I don't think you've got one right now. I think the Democrat Party is in trouble. I think that they're scrambling for their existence. And so they will do what an endangered animal or a caged animal will do. They will lash out. It's all they have left. Punishing their own base, they don't care. Doesn't matter to them. And they've got all kinds of excuses and they've got all kinds of reasons why they're the solution to the problem that they created back in 22. Back in 2022, Republicans were saying, do not issue these subsidies. Let's go back and renegotiate. And Democrats said no. Republicans warned that we would be here, that we would end up at this position, that people's subsidies would run out, and it would get to the point where it wouldn't even matter. The subsidies would no longer matter because the price would be through the roof. And here we are. Again, this was all brought on by the creation of Obamacare and the Affordable Care Act, and it has not delivered on what it was supposed to do. Remember when Obama told you that you were going to get back on average $2,200? Did you ever see that fucking money roll into your bank account? I know I didn't. There was a point that was my monthly. That's what I had to pay for just me and my wife. We were paying, I think, $2,400 to $2,700 a month. $2,400 to $2,700 a month. Folks, it is amazing to me that when I first moved out into the world, my first apartment was a nice apartment. Nice. 810 square feet. $190 a month. Not subsidized. That was full rent. I made $13,500 a year at that point. Well, that was back then. That was... Yeah, folks, it brings me back around to what I'm talking about tonight. How did we get here? I'm telling you how we got here. How was I able to do what I was doing back then? This is 1982. How was I able to afford that back then? And kids today have to shack up with 3 and 4 other roommates to be able to make it, especially if you go to a large city, especially if you go to a large blue city. How did I make it? How did we all make it back then? Simple. The money was worth more. You see, these people that have you marching in the streets, ready to tear down this system, the reason they want to tear down this system is because they've robbed as much from it as they possibly can. They want to move to a new system where they can start the process all over again. Our money, the US dollar, this fiat currency that we're paying everything for within our life, it's worth nothing. That's why the world is teetering on the edge of revolution, civil war, everywhere. It's not just here in the United States. So if they're working for what's in our best interest, how did we get here? How did we get to the position? How did we get to the point where our nation is not only teetering on the brink of civil war, revolution, but all the other major nations in the West are doing the exact same thing? Because our leaders, regardless of what you may think, left or right, have not been working their hardest in our best interest. They haven't been loud at all. You don't get to the end of the journey and find out, yeah, oh man, we made a wrong turn back there. We fucked up. That's not the point that you want to find that out. When you're out of supplies, you're out of resources, everybody is at their wits' end, That's not when you want to find out that the people in charge fucked up. I've said earlier that we got to this position in our nation not being led by average people. Joe the plumber, Rick the electrician, Bob the cardiologist, Doug the ambulance chasing lawyer. Everybody counts. Where we're at right now didn't happen because of those people. It happened because people raised their hand and said, put me in charge. I know what I'm doing. I want to go make a difference. And what they did is they went and they sold us out. Since 1913, our politicians in this nation have allowed our dollar through the Fed to be devalued almost 99-1. That's why when I was a kid, and I'm talking a kid, my dad would send me down to get a gallon of gasoline, and it was 28 cents. 28 cents. When I started driving, gas was 56 cents a gallon. When it went to 88 cents a gallon, people are like, woo, how are we going to make ends meet? 88 cents a gallon. The money still had some value. The currency still had some value. And then, wow, government got into everything. From the 80s on, the government got its fingers into everything. What I mean by that is it started subsidizing and working with all kinds of different groups and NGOs and started just pouring money into this and that. And all of our politicians had the opportunity to speak up and be very loud. Just pick one thing and be very loud. Rand Paul's done that. John Kennedy's done that. Massey's done that. And what happened with inside Congress? What happened with inside the Senate? These men get ostracized. Why? Because they're saying those people over there are enriching themselves at your expense. Well, the people that are getting the money, they don't want to hear that. They don't want the truth being told. So what are they going to do? Well, just like on the playground. They start saying that you got cooties, that you don't bathe well, you stink. They start making up all kinds of excuses. You're having an affair. You've got kiddie porn. They will come up with all kinds of reasons. You raped a lady in a dressing room 40 years ago, but nobody remembers the date, time, or exact this or that of anything. They will come up with anything that they can, folks. It's what they do. If you think things are going to change, you're sadly mistaken. Because when you ask the question, how did we get here? We got here because they wanted us here.
You're watching the CramerSez Project.
Global news with local views.
From the halls of Congress
Across the nation,
and around the globe.
you're getting the latest news and conservative views.
You're watching the CramerSez Project.
Global news with local views.
CramerSez returns after this message from our partners.
Call it the wedding of the woke. Billionaire heir Alex Soros just tied the knot with Hillary Clinton's longtime enforcer, Huma Abedin, in an ultra-exclusive ceremony that was about as subtle as a BLM riot with bottle service.
It was quite an event. It took place on Shelter Island, which is off Long Island. You can't get there unless you're very rich. The event was attended by two former presidents, Bill Clinton and Barack Obama. And of course, Hillary was there.
Translation: if you don't own a private jet, you're not on the guest list.
This event took place behind a phalanx of security, ironically, on Saturday, the same day when the Soros Foundations were bankrolling the so-called No Kings demonstrations around the country.
You heard that right. While the elite were toasting with Veuve Clicquot, Soros-backed protests were lighting up the streets. Because nothing says no kings like a family that buys district attorneys and throws $14 million weddings guarded like a royal fortress.
This violence in the streets, well, it's not spontaneous, and the American people deserve to know who's behind it.
While the media gushes over the dress, the venue, and the guest list, NLPC is tracking the dollars, right from the Soros empire to the streets.
We are identifying the money flows between the Soros Foundation and the activists who are conducting these protests.
You may not know our name, but since 1991, the National Legal and Policy Center has investigated and exposed more crime and corruption than any other political watchdog group in the country. Period.
And with your help, we're going to get at the truth.
Like, follow, and share to be notified about any updates on this story and more. Or get in-depth reporting from the National Legal and Policy Center at nlpc.org.
To learn more about the CramerSez project, our mission, and how you can become a part of it, please visit thecramersezproject.com.
You're watching CramerSez.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. My name is Kramer. This is the CramerSez Project, and we are doing a little thing tonight. We're doing a systems check. We've been playing with going live for the last couple of weeks, and we've had some technical issues. We think we've got all of those worked out. So hopefully tonight, my lips are synced and all of the audio and video are synced. So hopefully that's the case tonight, and we can move forward without having to worry about that bullshit anymore. So welcome back. We're just doing a Sunday night systems test. So one of the things I've been really pushing with friends and neighbors and anybody that'll listen to my rants over the last 4 years as we continued to be gaslit is, don't you want to know? When you find out that somebody lied to you, don't you want to know the truth? Don't you want to know what really happened? Don't you want to have that ammo in your back pocket of I told you so, that I wasn't crazy, I wasn't insane, that I wasn't losing my mind, that I wasn't the one that was wrong? No, don't you want to know that? I do. Especially after the billions and billions of dollars that have been spent, not trillions of dollars being spent, on covering up what's happened over the last 8 years. When I talk about what I'm talking about what COVID cost us. If you don't think that COVID was a cover-up, no different than throwing the government into a frenzy, no different than throwing these mobs into the street, COVID was a tool used to put the brakes on everything that was going forward. It was the only thing that they could do. They threw the brakes full on while we were traveling down the freeway at 90 miles an hour with the best economy that the world had ever seen. Don't you want to know who was responsible for that? Don't you want to know who ruined your life or the lives of your children? Don't you want to know who cost those millions their lives with that disease? Don't you want to know? I want to know. Back in 2017, Fauci said this was going to happen. He warned that this president would have a pandemic in his term. He didn't say terms. He said term. Fauci knew. How did he know? I want to know how he knew. Don't you want to know? I do. I mean, that's the way that I look at this. I want to know. I think I deserve to know. We're footing the bill for everything. We paid him $400,000 a year in taxpayer dollars. He made more than the fucking president. We pay for his security, or did up until shortly. I want to know what that little fucker had to do with ruining the best economy on the face of the earth. I want to know, don't you? If he knew that that was going to happen in 2017, why didn't he bark louder? I want to know. And if he didn't bark louder, what's responsible for that? Who was paying him off? And what role was he playing in what was going on? I want to know. You should want to know too. You're paying for it. That's the trick to their game. You pick up the bill, they get to do whatever they want, and when there's an issue, you're the problem. You're not paying your fair share. You're not doing what you're un-American, you're an ist. Aren't you tired of it? Aren't you sick of it? Don't you want to get to the bottom of what happened? I don't want to move past 2020. I don't think that America can afford to do that. Well, we're 5 years past that, Kramer. Sure, we can move on. No, we cannot. We need accountability. If the men and women responsible for doing that in 2020 are not held accountable, they or their proteges down the road will do the exact same thing to your children and grandchildren. I can guarantee you. How do I know? Because those people who weren't chastised and held accountable for 2016 went on to do what they did in 2020. Those people that we now know were spying on the president and his campaign before he was president, spying on a private citizen. Folks, I don't think you understand how important this is to get into people's psyche that they were spying on an American citizen. That is you and I. Well, he was probably messing around with Russia. He wasn't. It was all a lie. Don't you get it? It was all a lie. Everything that you believe about what happened was a lie. Don't you want to know what really happened? Don't you want to know why the people that lied to you and what they got out of it, what benefit that they gained? Was it financial? Was it power? Don't you want to know? I want to know. That's what the CramerSez project is about. We want to build our own investigative capability of going and looking at very key issues of the last 5 years. We want to look into what happened. We want to FOIA. We want to investigate, and we want to expose. This is my background. This is what I know best. This is all I want to do. This is all we want to do. We want to know what happened. We want to expose what happened. We want those people who ruined American lives to be held responsible. We want to know. Don't you? If you do, stick around. We'll tell you how to find out and get involved next.
The CramerSez Project will return
After this important message. Last week in our We Told You So series,
We warned GM investors that CEO Mary Barra was bad for business.
we were right.
Barra's love affair with EVs just cost stockholders $1.6 billion as GM takes a massive loss after Biden subsidies come to an end. Then, Paul Chesser reported Bank of America had no problem debanking conservatives.
This is an issue that NLPC's been investigating since the story broke.
But refused to expose Jeffrey Epstein's financial activities.
During the January 6th uprising, Bank of America scrubbed through its data and turned over credit card information without being asked, without being subpoenaed, without having a warrant given to them by federal law enforcement. At the same time, they were doing business with Jeffrey Epstein without question. And then after Epstein died, they suddenly realized, we need to report this activity. And they filed 2 suspicious activity reports, as they should have done when Epstein was still alive and still banking. But they didn't do so. They were basically covering up the business that Epstein was conducting.
But wait, there's more.
NLPC Chairman Peter Flaherty is calling for the indictment of John Brennan, the ex-CIA director who pushed the Russia collusion hoax, relied on the discredited Steele dossier, and lied to Congress.
According to the House Judiciary Committee, John Brennan committed crimes. We believe there's even more to the story, and we're going to stay on top of it.
That was last week. What's NLPC working on next? Find out by subscribing to the NLPC on this platform.
Or by visiting us at nlpc.org.
Introducing Tusk,
With Tusk, you get uncensored news and secure browsing.
all while protecting your privacy.
Choose the news you trust and take control of your internet.
Join the free speech revolution with Tusk.
Download Tusk today at tuskbrowser.com.
To learn more about the CramerSez project, our mission, and how you can become a part of it, please visit thecramersezproject.com.
You're watching CramerSez.
Over the last couple of years, one of the issues that I've been working on a lot is letting people know what's really going on. I've lost friends, I've lost family. I'm sure you have too. But one of the things that I think is powerful in bringing things back together is the ability to say, I told you so. Now, I still love you. I still want you in my life. But I told you so. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't insane. Wasn't going off my rocker. I don't have to get a tinfoil hat. No, it just made sense. You know, Occam's razor, all the other excuses they were coming up with over the last 4 or 5 years for us to do this or that. And we kept saying, that don't seem right. That just don't reckon. We kept doing that. We kept saying that, and we kept coming back to the fact that common sense is common sense. Some of the things that we learned in 8th grade biology, some of the things that we learned in 8th grade science told us that the stuff that they've told us over the last 4 years was all bullshit. Then all of a sudden there's a laptop. That laptop is, it's a problem. Because it's Russian disinformation, and you can't look at it. Yeah, no, they lied, folks. They used the power of their position to convince half the nation that a story that we should have been looking at a lot closer should be disregarded. That's what they said. They said that the most important exposure of a family in government in my lifetime and their corruption should be disregarded as Russian disinformation. If you can't trust the people that are supposed to keep the other people honest, folks, it's time to reset the system. And what CramerSez want to do is we want to do just that. We're doing a systems test tonight because we're ready to launch a brand new way of getting the news out there. We're going to have a little bit of fun with it. We'll make fun of what's going on. We'll talk about serious issues. We'll talk about non-serious issues. But the thing that we're always looking for is the truth and what's going on. What's really happening? They said this, they did this. That doesn't jive. You should know about it. So that's what we want to deliver. Now, with that being said, there's only so much 1 or 2 or 3 people can do. We've been doing that for about 3 years. We're at the point where we're going to need your help. We would like to see other people that, like myself, want to deliver news, whether it be a local news story or a national news story, or delivering more in-depth content of documentaries and so on. We have a long-form vision of what we want to accomplish at CramerSez, and we think that the best way to keep it honest is by keeping Americans, patriots, on both sides of the aisle. We can disagree. We can still get along and tell the truth. If we can't do that, then this nation truly is lost. If you want to find out more about what's going on, please visit thecramersezproject.com. Thecramersezproject.com. The CramerSez, CramerSez project.com.
You're watching the CramerSez Project.
Global news with local views.
CramerSez returns after this message from our partners.
Franklin D. Roosevelt said,
In politics, nothing happens by accident. If it happens, you can be sure it was planned that way.
I don't make a habit of quoting FDR, but on this point, he's 100% right, which makes Vice President Vance's comments from last night even more important to pay attention to.
The only way to honor Charlie is to get to the bottom of exactly how this person was radicalized and who else was involved in it.
Hi, I'm Peter Flaherty, chairman of the National Legal and Policy Center. Since 1991, the NLPC has investigated and exposed the high crimes and misdemeanors of politicians and corporate leaders alike. Our mission is about one thing: accountability, not partisanship, just like Vice President Vance was talking about last night.
That is political terrorism, but it's not just the people who are killing the cops. It's not just the people who are engaging and throwing the Molotov cocktails and in the riots. Where was the money coming from? Who was organizing this violent activity? That is not going after Democrats unless, by implication, you're saying every single Democrat is involved in planning political violence.
For the past several years, NLPC is focused on who's funding the violence on our streets and the radicalization of our kids. Oddly, the same names keep popping up. Names like Soros, Hoffman, and Gates. The protests and the riots aren't happening by accident. The violence is not spontaneous. The left strategy is clear: encourage arson, vandalism, and looting, and then blame the violence on the law enforcement response. The protesters are well-funded and equipped, and the NLPC is digging deep into exposing those responsible for supplying these groups with the masks, shields, and other devices being used to perpetuate violence in the name of social justice. To learn more about our mission or to join it, follow and share us on this social media platform or visit our website, nlpc.org.
To learn more about the CramerSez project, our mission, and how you can become a part of it,
Please visit thecramersezproject.com.
You're watching CramerSez.
We are hoping that you want to know like we want to know. We want to know what happened over the last 4 or 5 years. We want to know what's happened for the last 60 years. We want to know because we are the people, and we should know. It's our money. There shouldn't be Americans that are special, right? Remember Animal Farm? Oh, of course, yeah, everybody's equal, but there are some animals that are more equal than other animals. Yeah, we can't have animals that are more equal than other animals. We can't have animals that know more than we know. But it's national security. Yeah, if that were something that were enriching me and my family, and if I told you that would stop happening, yeah, I'd probably classify it as national security. This has been going on for a long time, folks. We want to know. I'm sure you want to know too. If you want to know more about what we're doing, if you want to know more about how you can help, the best thing to do is go to thecramersezproject.com. That's thecramersezproject.com. I appreciate you dropping in. Tonight was a systems test to see if everything would work. We hope it did. It looks like it did. And we are looking forward to more broadcasts and another one tomorrow night. We'll see you then. With that being said, thank you so much for dropping in, and we'll see you again tomorrow night. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching CramerSez Live.
This concludes this broadcast.
Please follow, like, and subscribe to be notified the next time
The CramerSez project goes live.
Oh, you called it the perfect time.